Space Marines are the foremost vanguards of the protectors of the Imperium. They are often outnumbered but never outgunned, but today we're ruining that. Hello everybody, my name is Spoons Rattling, and today we'll be covering 3 different kinds of Space Marines. That will be the most amount of Marines you can fit into a list, the least, and the cheapest army you can put together for them. Here you can see this Terminator, done up in the livery of the Blood Ravens. Do keep in mind, though, that he will not be starring in this section of the video. That is the most amount of Marines I could fit into one list. So, this is called the Swarm, fittingly enough, 2,000 points. In terms of HQs, we have 1 Ancient and 1 Blade Guard Veteran, or Blade Guard Ancient rather, 2 of the most worthless HQs in the entire book, and fittingly some of the cheapest. In terms of battle line, we have 6 times 10 units of Tactical Marines for a whopping 60 bodies on the board, and quite a few units if you combat squad them. We have 1 unit of Assault Intercessors, and then we have another unit of 5 Assault Intercessors to give us quite a nice round 75 battle line models. Lots of OC on the table, that's for sure. And then in terms of other units, we have 3 units of 10 Reavers and 3 units of 10 Scouts. This is of course an absurd amount of scout moves, but also a good amount of deep strike if you really just for some reason want to do that. In total, this comes out to 137 models and $750 approximately, looking at the cost of the Blade Guard Ancient on eBay and other markets like that. He's usually around $40. Now, of course, the most strength you could get out of this would, I believe, be 12 with a las cannon on the Tactical Marines, which is quite impressive, I know. Though I would say it would be quite funny to run this and have a grand total of, let me do the quick mental math, it would be 12, and then you would just add in the other ones, which would then be 18, and then 20, and you could have up to 22 activations, 22 units up on the table in total if you split all of the Tactical Marines with their Combat Squad's ability. Regardless, though, this is quite a ridiculous list, though I honestly would like to see it on the table because this is, in theory, a little over a company and a little bit of the reserve company, counting those scout models. Now, this isn't 7th edition or anything, so you're not going to get 10 free rhinos or whatever ridiculous rule that was for fielding an entire company of Space Marines, but still, I think it actually would be rather funny to just run a horde of OC2 Space Marines and hopefully just go up the objectives. Really going against the Space Marine ideal, where every life here is relatively worthless, with every model only being a few points each. Though I did want to do the opposite in this video as well, with what I call the Select Few coming in at 197 points. In terms of HQ, we only have 1, a Terminator Captain, the priciest HQ, excluding Epic Heroes. In terms of infantry, we have 3 units of 4 aggressors, 1 unit of 4 eradicators, and 1 unit of 3 eradicators. The reason it's 4 is because, well, if you just include 1 extra model, you're paying the full price for all the extra models. So to be a real, miser about this, you would of course need to run the min size of these squads that costs the most. In terms of vehicles, we also have 3 Land Raider Redeemers, the priciest vehicle, excluding things like the Thunderhawk, which of course, if you wanted to, you could include the giant plane twice and then a Terminator Captain, and your army would be at 2,000 points for with just 3 models. Though this is 23 models and $809, the reason I don't include those resin models is they're quite they tend to sort of be their own class of thing, so I'm only counting plastic models that can be used in Warhammer 40k traditionally. In terms of this, though, you would need to buy 4 boxes of aggressors to, of course, get the 3 units of 3, and then 1 extra box to fill out the slot of 4, and you would need to buy 3 boxes of eradicators to get the unit of 3, and then you would also need a spare one for the other unit to get it up to a unit of 4, and then, of course, the Land Raider Redeemer and Terminator Captain are just as normal. Though it would be, again, quite a funny list to have this few things on the table. You could load everything up into those Land Raiders if you really wanted to, just to have nothing on the board except 3 Land Raiders, and I'm sure that's getting towards the lowest amount of units you can deploy, excluding things like ridiculous Deep Strike and reserve armies that things like tyranids could potentially set up. However, though, again, this army would be extremely elite and would perhaps be the most fitting way to do Marines, though of course they are all wearing Gravis armor except for the Captain, which maybe doesn't exactly make the most sense, but you're running 20 models, who cares if it makes the most sense? Those Custodians can eat their heart out. And then we do have the cheapskates, the sort of mid-ground between the two. This comes in at 1,955 points. In terms of HQs, we have 2 captains. In terms of battle line, we have 1 unit of 10 intercessors. In terms of infantry, we have 2 units of 10 assault terminators, and finally 3 units of 10 stern guard veterans alongside a dreadnought and a land raider. Now, this may sound very familiar to you, but unsurprisingly, this is just the Age of Darkness box that's the starter set for Horus Heresy. Everything there can be run in 40k, the Contemptor is on the same base as the smaller Dreadnought. The Land Raider Spartan is not that much larger than a regular Land Raider, so you could simply proxy it as that. You, of course, get 40 Space Marines, so run them as 10 Stern Guard in one battle line Intercessor unit because they all have bolters, so it doesn't really make a difference. You, of course, get 10 Terminators in the box and 2 Captains, so take that, slap on a extra box of Terminators, and you have the cheapest Terminator army cheapest Terminator army, rather the cheapest Space Marine army that I could sensibly put together, and that does, of course, come out to only about $407, which is, I believe, one of the single cheapest armies in the game. I will be doing a chart of these as time goes on, because I do plan to cover the other factions, including things like the Dark Angels or the Space Wolves, though of course, those will sort of have to have a little bit of differences because, for the most part, most Space Marines can just buy this box and be set for life, because most Space Marines do have a relatively expensive unit that use bolters, but that is a problem for future me to deal with. Though, that just about wraps up what we have for this part of the video, so I do want to know down below, did I mess anything up? Did I overlook any extremely cheap units? I do also want to lay out the fact that, as I mentioned, I'm not using Forge World units, and I'm also not using any Legends units, even though there could be things like Astartes Servitors to squeeze out a little bit more things into a single list. I won't be including these in this video or in the future videos. I will, however, include that at the beginning of the video. This is very much the sort of rough draft of this whole series, and it's overall quite a silly series. I wouldn't take it particularly seriously. I just wanted to see what I could do with some list building to see just how many, or how few, models I could squeeze into a single army. I do know about some, as they haven't changed since I did a video not dissimilar to this, I believe about a year and a half ago. However, that is of course a very different time, and I wanted to cover them now, in the modern day of Warhammer 40k. So, obviously, the next people up on the docket will be the Dark Angels, the Space Wolves, the Black Templars, the Blood Angels, which I think I will wrap up into one video, but I want to know, after that, what would you guys like to see? Of course, I'm a big fan of Orcs, Chaos Space Marines, they're definitely high up on the docket. Maybe some Tau, Sisters of Battle, maybe some Imperial Guard. I think that could be an interesting one to see just how many models, or again, how few models, we could squeeze into one video, or rather one army, of those factions that are particularly more hordy, though I do know that the Orcs, I believe, will take the cake for the lowest model count army, excluding Forge World things, as that, of course, could just be like one Reaver Titan, which would be 2,000 points, so we're not going to cover that, but again, we're just talking plastic kits. That does include things like Horus Heresy units, as we can see here. That would also include it for the Imperial Knights of the Lancer and things like that. But no resin units for Custodes or for other armies like that. Anyways, I've been Spoons Rattling. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you all next time.